Welcome to the channel. I'm Preston Glad. Today we're going to answer the age-old question of should you spend the extra money to buy a premium product over a product that is not necessarily premium but still does the job. And today we're talking about water hoses, more specifically RV safe or drinking water safe water hoses. So should you spend anywhere from $40 to $80 on a hose like this, or should you just get one of the competitors, a $20 hose that may or may not work, may or may not last? It's kind of one of those discussions that there's people on both sides of the fence. And hopefully today, after this video, I've helped answer that question. So for a while now, I've been an affiliate with Clearsource. I have their Nomad system. I've used it all over the United States, and it's never failed me. It's been an awesome product. This is a premium product, and it does a premium function, and that is it clears water of any debris or viruses to a certain point. Most water filtration systems out there are not water purification systems, and this is a water purification system. So it only makes sense that Clearsource would go and add something to basically help you use their system, and that is a high quality water hose. They're made out of FDA and MSF approved material, polyethylene. It is a virgin polyethylene, not a recycled polyethylene, and it is 100% food safe. Additionally, they have a food grade stainless steel coupler. Now this is not just a coupler that's crimped on, this actually goes all the way the full length down approximately 3 inches into the hose and is reinforced with extra material, rubber material here on the outside of the hose. On the female end here, they have a large area that you can grab a hold of to secure it down to whatever you're screwing onto, or more importantly, to take it off. If you have a large mineral buildup, calcium, something like that, it can be super hard to take these off. And if you have something very small, trying to use just 2 fingers to try to take it off, sometimes you can't get it off and you have to get pliers. Pliers on brass usually winds up in a not a good situation. You're going to wind up replacing that hose. Now there are a couple other categories that we can talk about, and one is going to be kinking. This hose will kink. It does pop in and out of place. However, there's no damage or no white spots a lot of times on these hoses. If you kink them, you can see where it's crimped the material and the material is stretched out, and that has caused a weak spot in the material. On these, you see no kinking. Next is going to be memory. A lot of these hoses will hold memory. So far, this hose does seem to hold some memory. However, I'm not going to dock at any points for that, just because that is something that actually is beneficial to me because it stays in the shape that I want it to. Now, this is a new hose. I haven't had it but a couple of weeks, and I really haven't got a chance to put it out in the sun and let it bake for a couple of years like I have this hose right here. Now, this hose right here, you can tell that it's getting brittle. It's been out in the sun for probably 2 years now. There's a whole bunch of calcium buildup and mineral buildup, and when I took this hose off of what I had it hooked up to, it was extremely hard to get off. Now these cheaper hoses, this $20 hose does also have a little bit of area to grab onto here, but it's already starting to flake and get extremely brittle. And so it's the difference in compounds. That's what you're paying for. It's the compounds that these hoses are made out of. These are not designed to hold up for more than maybe 3 or 4 years if you actually take care of them and don't just throw them on the ground and run over them and leave them outside for the sun to hit them and destroy them. Whereas these right here are designed to last double, if not triple, that amount of time. These hoses come in 4 sizes, and they start from $40 and go all the way up to $80. They have a short bib hose, a 5-foot, a 10-foot, and a 25 hose. Today I have with me the 5-foot and the 25-foot hose. Now, speaking of the durability, we're going to take these out and torture test them. We're going to do a couple different tests. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to do a whole bunch of kinks. Kink over kink over kink over kink. And next, after that, we're going to take it and we're going to run over it. Now, I talked to Clearsource, and they said that actually they recommend running over the hose to break it in, but not the connection points. So right here at the female and the male fitting, you do not want to run those over. But if you do run this over, it will break it in. Now, I don't know what that means in terms of longevity for breaking it in, if it's going to reduce kinks, but it's supposed to soften up the material, and it'll be a little more easier to work with this material when you're trying to get it and wind it up. It goes back to what I was talking about on that memory, but that's kind of yet to be seen. I'll do a follow-up review later down the road in a year or two to see where these hoses are at. Finally, the last test we're going to do to torture test this hose, we're going to hook it up to the back of my Jeep, and we're going to drag it around on the rocks and the dirt for a half a mile or so and see how it holds up. We're also going to do the same thing with the competitor hose back here and see how they both compare side to side. All right, and now for the part that everybody's probably been waiting for, that's the torture test. So we're going to put both of these down here. I'm going to tie them into themselves so that their threads are protected, because clearly the threads will get damaged. But the first thing we're going to do is we're just going to set these out, and then we're going to drive over them. Probably going to drive over them 2 or 3 times, and we'll stop and just sit on them, probably turn our wheel left and right a couple of times just to see what damage, if any, is done, and we'll compare the hoses side by side after that. All right, let's get this test started. Alrighty, well, we're definitely hitting the mark. So far, I'm not seeing any major damage. We'll go over it a few more times, and then we'll do the drag test. All right, so we hit it pretty good. Let's see if there's anything crazy standing out. So for the Clearsource hose, I don't see any damage. And for the cheaper hose, there's no major damage, but I can feel buckles, and the surface is a lot more scarred up. So if I did this 30 more times, this is already showing signs of abrasion and wear, and this is showing 0 signs of abrasion and wear. So it just goes to show that, you know, over a long period of use, and I'm looking at this from a long-term use case. You know, you spend $80 on a hose, it better be a damn good hose. And so this is one of these things to where, as long as you take care of it and don't completely and utterly just mistreat it, this will last you for maybe a lifetime. You know, maybe not quite a lifetime, but, you know, 10, 15, 20 years. Whereas these right here, they're not going to last you that. Taking care of these, maybe you'll get maybe 5 years out of this. The other thing that you have to take into consideration is, and you really can't see it here, is all this pressure. So over time, there's going to be anywhere from, you know, 40 to 70 pounds of pressure on these hoses. And even though this may not tear immediately, by running over it like this, I've probably weakened this material here. And over time, you're going to have a rupture because the material is just going to give out. Whereas with these hoses here, they're not going to rupture. Even if they do have abrasion, they get run over, stuff like that, they're just not going to rupture. So we're going to make this pretty simple. All we're going to do is just take this, and again, we don't want to, well, for this test, you know what, we'll put this in the dirt and drag it and see how it does, because that's not gonna, as long as it's basically tied onto itself here, I'm not going to damage the threads. That's my only concern, is I don't want to clearly, you know, just outright damage the threads. So it's going to be pretty simple. We're just going to take the hose. I've got a hook right here, and we're just going to take it and drag it. We're only going to do a couple of loops. I don't want it to come off and get caught up in my tires or anything, but that's what we're going to do with this, and we'll try to mark for this and drag it right back through here. Let's take a look. So we dragged this. We did, I don't know, probably say 5 or 6 turns on here. There's clearly so there is some damage and some road rash on this piece right here, which, I mean, is going to be expected. But for the rest of the hose, I mean, it's dirty, but it is definitely still in great shape. No issues whatsoever. And again, the key here is not that these are going to fail immediately on these tests, but the fact that over time, and when you put water pressure on them, they've been weakened by this abrasion and running it over it and stuff like this. This one is what's going to give, and this one won't, and that's what you're paying for. All right, now we're going to hook up the El Cheapo hose. All right, so there's a guy over here looking at me like I'm stupid, wondering what the hell I'm doing, but let's see how this hose fared. All right, on this hose right here, again, this is all chewed up. This is chewed up a lot worse than this one is. If we compare the two here, you can see that they're both damaged. This still has a lot of real estate, and this one, again, is still serviceable, but the other thing I'm noticing here is this brass is a lot more tore up. The rocks got to it, whereas the stainless steel here, there's a couple of nicks in it, but it's not as exposed as this brass is. The other thing you need to look at here is, so this is just basically the hose runs into this brass piece right here and it's crimped on. This right here is a 3 or 4 inch stainless steel fitting that has got teeth on it that has been pushed on here, pressure fit on here. And then this right here, this collar right here provides tightness and rigidity. So you're definitely gonna have a lot more strength. And this right here, this is not gonna kink right at the point right here and cause it to fail. And then also if this were to get ran over completely, it's gonna distribute that pressure, whereas this one right here is going to completely just fail on you. So I would 100% say that I could run over this and not worry about it. Whereas this one here, if you run over the actual connection point, it's going to crush this. And it's going to flatten out your brass rings. It's going to be useless. So is the Clearsource RV water hose for you, or would you rather go with a cheap one that you can find pretty much anywhere? Well, I mean, honestly, for me personally, I have an old saying, buy nice or buy twice. And in my 46 years of being on this earth, I have found that if you buy something that's premium in quality, you're going to reap the rewards of that. You're going to have something that's going to last you a long time, that's going to take abuse, and that you know that you can count on. Whereas if you settle and you get something a little bit cheaper because at the time, you know, you're like, whoa, wait a second, $80 for this, $20 for that, that's a huge difference just for a water hose. I mean, what big a deal is a water hose? Well, it's not a big deal until you don't have one or it ruptures on you and you're nowhere near anywhere that you can actually purchase one. And that is what makes the biggest difference for me. So for me personally, yes, I think it's worth it. Now, with that being said, Clearsource did send this to me free of charge. This is not technically a sponsored video because they didn't pay me to make this video. They just sent this to me and said, hey, you know, if you want to make a video, take some photos of it and post it on social media, we'd really appreciate it. With that being said, I also have a discount code, GLAD25, GLADD25 will give you $25 off of $250 or more. Now, if you only buy the water hoses, you're probably not going to hit that $250 mark. However, if you do couple that with something like the Nomad, and I believe they have some other products coming out that are going to be pretty interesting, and when they do come out, hopefully I can get one of those and share that with you. But this right here would be something that I would buy just on its own, and also it pairs perfectly with the Nomad system. Now, they also have a lot of RV-centric stuff, and we actually have a fifth wheel, but most of what I really showcase on this channel is going to be overlanding stuff. Again, if you value quality products and something that's going to last you a very, very, very long time, then I think that this is a 100% recommendation. If you're on a budget, then there's nothing wrong with the $20 water hoses. You just, over time, you're going to pay for this. So it's either you pay for it up front or you keep buying these, and it has the facade that it's saving you money, but in reality, it's actually costing you more money by not buying the premium hose like this. I appreciate you watching. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. I'll put some links down there so you can find this. Clearsource is a great company. They're an American company. They source all their products in the USA as much as they can. And everything they do, they put through a rigorous test. And I wholeheartedly stand behind all the products that they make. So if you have an RV or you do overlanding or you need water hoses or some type of water purification system, again, they do purification, not just filtration. Definitely check them out. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.